Iran and US are heading to Switzerland for the second round of renewed talks. The talks scheduled for later this week comes as reports emerge that US is ready to back Israeli strikes on Iran's ballistic missiles program if negotiations fail. The indirect talks in Geneva will be mediated by Oman, which had hosted the first round in Muscat. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has already left for Geneva. The US side will be represented by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Ahead of the talks, Iran has signaled flexibility on its nuclear program. Deputy Iranian Foreign Minister indicated that Iran was ready to compromise in return for sanctions relief, telling the BBC that the ball was in America's court to prove that they want to do a deal. However, he reiterated that Iran would not accept zero uranium enrichment, a key sticking point in past negotiations. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has also acknowledged that the talks could fail, but emphasized that Trump remains committed to seeing them through.
I'm not going to talk about attacks on Iran or anything of that nature because the president's made clear he prefers diplomacy and an outcome of negotiated settlement. Now, we're dealing with radical Shia clerics. Okay, we're dealing with people who make geopolitical decisions on the basis of pure theology, and it's a complicated thing. I mean, no one's ever been able to do a successful deal with Iran, but we're going to try.
A report citing US officials says that the US military is preparing for the possibility of sustained weeks-long operations against Iran. US has already amassed military forces in the region with an additional aircraft carrier on the way. According to CBS News, US President Donald Trump told Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in December that he would support the strikes if the US and Iran could not reach a deal. Netanyahu also voiced skepticism that the negotiations would succeed. He also laid out 4 Israeli demands regarding any deal with Iran, including the removal of country's entire stock of enriched uranium and the dismantling of its nuclear facilities. Netanyahu also reiterated that any deal must address Iran's ballistic missiles and dismantle its support for armed groups in the region. Quoting late US President Ronald Reagan, Netanyahu defended a similar approach to Iran's nuclear program.
And the last thing is, remember Ronald Reagan's dictum vis-a-vis the Soviet Union? Trust but verify, distrust, distrust, and always verify. So there has to be real inspections, substantive inspections, no lead time inspections, but effective inspections for all of the above.